Now it's my honor to introduce our speaker for this afternoon. Dr. Daniel Huerta is a bilingual psychologist, licensed clinical social worker, and vice president of parenting and youth at Focus on the Family. He equips parents with biblically grounded, research-based guidance through books, podcasts, and media appearances nationwide. Dr. Huerta has served families in Colorado Springs for over 20 years and hosts Focus on Parenting and Practice Makes Parent. Families, please join me in welcoming Dr. Daniel Huerta.
Hey guys, man, good to be with you. I was excited about having this lunchtime with you, and this is one of my favorite topics of all time. I've worked in the school system for in Harrison District 2, if you guys know that, here locally for 5 years early in my career, and then came to Focus on the Family. But I've had a private practice now for more than 2 decades, and this topic of personality differences comes up often. And man, every person is so different. And I would imagine everyone that's on this call, I mean, if we went through the complexity of how different we are, it'd be fun to learn about that. So a couple questions for you guys to throw in the chat. One is, tell me the ages of your kids. How many kids do you have? What ages are your kids? I'd love to know that, the variety of from 0 to 18 or beyond that you have. Let me know that. And then what is it that you want to get from today, from our time? It's going to be brief. It's going to be quick. I want to give you enough to be dangerous around these personality differences, and I'll help you understand the difference between temperament and personality dynamics that may be going on between you and your spouse and you and your kids. And then what I'd love to know is, yeah, from our time together, just really what is it that you're hoping to get as a new tool for your family? And I would imagine it's how can we have better communication? So first, we're gonna jump into a shared screen, and if you need to take pictures of some of these, feel free to do so. And hopefully, they're very helpful as a tool set for you as parents. And let me see. Let me go back. All right. Let me actually do this. You guys just saw yourselves. All right, here we go. And there's a lot of little buttons to push. Thanks for your patience there. All right. Perfect. Oh, no, let's do this. All right. So I just want to introduce you to my family. I've been married to my wife for 28 years, and I have 2 kids, totally different kids, by the way. There's my daughter. She's an aerial acrobat and has loved being just on the edge of danger all the time. She has ADHD, very social, and an extreme talker. She loves to be with people. She says, "Man, Dad, I'm people powered." And then my son, he's a little quieter and firstborn. He just got married this last year, and he's more of a kind of a math thinker, athlete guy. He loves things to be a slower pace, but also in order. And man, it's been fun to raise 2 very different kids, and I've had to adjust my parenting to who they are as a person, and it takes a bit of adaptability to do that. So I'm going to tell you guys a story of skiing with my kids that illustrates what we're going to be talking about. So my daughter and son both got those free lessons that we get here, the wonderful lessons we get in Colorado for free for our kids that are in 5th grade. And so they both went through that process. And my daughter had just gone through her lesson. My son was getting into the whole skiing thing. And I said, guys, you know what? We're going to go to Arapahoe Basin. And I had never been to A Basin. I knew it was a bit more advanced, and I just want to take my kids to that next level. And my my daughter, she was so excited. She said, "Dad, do you think I can do it?" I said, "Oh yeah, absolutely. We can do this." And we get to A Basin, and I was looking at the map, and I said, "Hey guys, you know what? Let's just go to the top, and we'll figure it out from there." So we're going all the way to the top, and I'm noticing on the map that there are a lot of blacks and blues on this one. And I started to realize maybe I'm taking too much chunk here to right off the bat. And as we get to the top, I had never experienced snow blindness, and if you haven't experienced that, it is very intimidating once you experience that. And really, you can see at a distance, but you can't get a bearing of where you're at. So I said, guys, all right, this is how we're gonna do it. You're gonna follow me. We're gonna just kind of zigzag down because we're in a bowl, and at the bottom of that was an outcropping of rocks, and then close to it was kind of a cliff type of area that'd be pretty dangerous, and they could go into trees and all that. So I said, all right, let's just zigzag, just follow me. We'll conquer this, no problem. There's no hurry. So I start going. My son, being the compliant one and obedient one, he's right behind me, and my daughter, I thought she was right behind me. And so I started going, and I turn around. She is pointed straight down and just going full speed, full throttle down the mountain. I'm going, son, I don't know if we're going to be going home early. I don't know if we're going to be, if we just lost Lexi. I think maybe she's gone. I don't know what's going to happen here. And that is just such an illustration of her life where she just wants to go. Her motto is full send. And my son, it's, calculate, let's plan. When we go camping, he loves to plan things out. When my daughter just wants to go, and then, hey, let's plan later. And so in that, I've gotten to learn a lot about what it looks like to parent differently with each of our kids. So a question for you is, what are you building as you're parenting? And as you are navigating relationship, you're building trust, but before that, you're providing the basics for your kids. And I remember early on meeting with this one dad. I remember having a session with this dad. The family was saying, "I wish our dad was around more." There was conflict around this issue that the dad was working so much, and I said, "Hey, tell me about this whole fathering thing. What does it mean to you? What are you building?" And he said, "Well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm providing for my family. I'm working super hard. What else do they want? I want to come home and I just want to relax." Well, that's the basic needs and the foundation of trust. That's the first level of the pyramid of what a child needs developmentally and what a relationship needs developmentally. So the second level to that is relationship. Having relationship with your children. That means conversation, being intentional with them, but also getting to know who they are. What are their interests? How do they see the world? What is their perception? And then from there, you can develop meaningful boundaries for that child. It's not just about rules and about punishing, correcting. It's how can I help mold who you are into the person that is going to be a healthy individual, having healthy relationships, and developing the way you need to be developing. And so then those boundaries make sense within that context of relationship. There's trust built. And so there's a response to those boundaries. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be more aligned to what you're trying to do. And then from there, you can actually build mission and vision for your kids. And then you begin to see growth and identity. And that is so, so fantastic. So one of the thing, in 2 weeks, I'll be talking about the 7 traits of effective parenting. And I love to combine personality and just give you a teaser on 7 traits, because based on your temperament and on the way that your personality expresses itself, that's going to drive how you show up as a parent. Parenting is just as much about you and being transformed in who you are and continuing to grow as much as it is for your child and their growth and their development. There are 3 things that are growing: you as a parent, your child, and then your relationship. All those things are growing every single day as you're parenting. And the word parenting is drawing something out from your child. You're drawing out who they are as a person. And that's what parenting means ultimately. So the 7 traits of effective parenting, these are 7 traits to help draw out who your child is. And it begins with adaptability. And that's what we're going to be really talking about today, adapting to the differences of personality. And if you want more insights into the 7 traits and where these came from and why they're so useful for you, make sure you come in a couple weeks when we're going to be meeting live on this. And at the end, I'm going to give you a link to an assessment you can take on these 7 traits for you as a parent in preparation for that. So there's a little teaser for you. All right, so there's not only personality differences, but there are differences between moms and dads. Dads, when they're under stress, they want to take action. They want to mobilize, they want to fix it. There's an action to take place, but also there's an impact from dads that is unique in their children's lives. And one of them that's interesting, I do talks on just dads and moms and the differences. So I'll just give you one thing that I think is just fascinating. A dad's singing voice early in a child's life helps regulate their children's nervous system. My daughter still says, "Hey, Dad, can you sing me that song you used to sing to me when I was little?" And it's so true. Research is showing through brain science that when a dad sings early in their child's life, when they're infants and toddlers, those songs help regulate their child's nervous system so it calms down their brain. It's fascinating, even if we're bad singers. And I would say probably be in that category. And then moms. Moms have tremendous amount of influence in their kids' lives, and you have a superpower, moms. And moms, when you're stressed, you're under stress, you overthink things. It causes you to go into your thoughts even more. So that's the difference between men and women. The dad goes more towards action. Let's do something about this. A mom becomes a manager of all these things that she's thinking about, and takes it all on into her brain. And it's a multiplication of thought bubbles that creates an overwhelming potential for burnout there. And so for moms, I love this quote: "Life doesn't come with a manual; it comes with a mom." And many people go, "Man, I wish my child had a manual." Well, moms, you have an amazing superpower, and one of them is that your voice, regardless of your temperament, your voice, calm voice. When you've calmed down your stress, your calm voice is a regulator of your child's nervous system. And they found that all the way into adult children. They did a study with adult college young women that were put under just the normal conditions of college, which were stressful, and they were given different opportunities to regulate that stress, different breathing techniques and other things they could do. And one of them was calling their mom, and their mom just giving reassurance and with that calm voice being present with them. Well, that was the mom's calm voice was the best regulator of their nervous system, calming them down the most. And it was based on a solid relationship between mom and daughter. And so know that your calmness is important. So personality differences is more about your own personal awareness and how it impacts others, rather than I'm just different, so you just need to deal with me. It's you understanding yourself well and understanding the other temperaments enough so that you make the adjustments necessary to make the connections. And it's not all about, well, I'm just this way and let's laugh it through, and people just need to adjust who I am, which is how a lot of times personality differences are talked about. So let's talk about the complexity of this. Personality differences are there's like a fingerprint for each person. So there's so many different variations to personality, and I don't want to make it feel like it's all oversimplified, but since the Greeks in 200 AD, actually BC, sorry, 200 BC, there was the Greeks came up with these quadrants, and that you may be familiar with them. It's sanguine, choleric, melancholic, and phlegmatic, and it's these four different ways that people behave within certain contexts. And many people have an adaptive side of who they are, so that at work and with certain friends, a certain piece of them comes out. And what's been fascinating to learn is that everybody has all four areas of the temperament, and that makes us adaptive. There's just one that we rely on in adaptive settings, and then one or two, and then one that is more of our natural temperament that we were born with. And so we develop adaptive pieces to who we are. That means these are pieces that the environment has pulled out of us, where we've had to act this certain way in order to either survive or interact well within that environment. And so for some people, it may be quiet in one setting. Maybe they've had to draw out more of that either social or leader side of themselves, and it just tires them out because it's not their natural. So I know a lot of questions I get, and be sure you're putting questions in the chat at the end. We're going to make some time for questions if you have any, and it'll be short. So we're going to clump them into one or two questions that hopefully globally answer the questions for you guys. But many people will ask, well, what if I'm two, or what if I'm three, or I feel like I'm all four? certain pieces in life draw out the different parts of who you are, and you need to figure out when I'm at my most calm state, what do I tend to feel most energized by? Which one feels most natural to me? So as we're going through these temperaments, think about that. These are four, and there are about 250, 260 different tests for all these four quadrants. So you may have heard of lion, otter, golden retriever, beaver. You may have heard of colors, different colors describing people. Here, focus on the family. These are the ones we use because I believe these are the functional pieces that a person brings into a house. We need peacemakers, we need talkers, we need leaders, we need thinkers. And when we understand the differences and how beautiful those are and how we can begin to learn from each other within our strengths of what temperaments we bring, it begins to transform relationships and create growth, which is great. But many times we end up bumping up against each other with those personality or temperament differences. So as I'm talking about this, I'll talk about them as temperaments, and then personality dynamics are what you can change inside of you over time. So the environment does change a piece of your personality, but your temperaments are the things you're born with that remain static. And then you develop temperament pieces that are much more adaptive. So hopefully I didn't confuse you, but that's how I like to explain it and just the complexity of it. That people ask, are personalities the same all our lives? Does it ever change? Pieces of it, personality dynamics relationally, begin to change over time and can be changed by the environment. But our temperament itself is something that we're born with, and there's a genetic component to that that is not altered. It's just there's a maturity that can take place. So let's talk about talkers. And guys, in the chat, put what, as we go through all four, put what temperament you believe you are. I'd love to see that. That would be so awesome to see what you guys, which ones you guys think you fit into. And then think about your kids and your spouse. And I'm going to talk about those combinations in a moment. So talkers are playful, they're charming. A talker's there because they will make themselves known. They're fun, spontaneous, they process emotions and thoughts out loud. They're the ones in the elevator that probably turn around to you and start talking, saying, "Hey, how's your day?" Even if it's a couple floors. Usually people just stand in the elevator, a talker will come in and say, "Hey, so how you doing?" And they'll just start talking. They'll strike up a conversation with you in line, or if they're a cashier, they'll start asking about your day. They're you know that they're there. They are optimistic, they're visionary, they're very warm, and a big word here is fun loving. They are motivators. They're a lot of fun to be with. And one descriptor here that is on the list is they're the salesman of the group. All right, let's look at the thinkers. The thinkers are structured. They love to make lists. They follow the rules. A lot of times they're the rule makers and the rule keepers. They'll make lists for lists. I mean, they just absolutely love lists. So if you are married to a thinker, if you're going to go to the grocery store, you'll get a list. They'll say, "Hey, here's your list. Stick to the list." And they're analytical, cautious, very creative. They're strategy focused, very very good strategists. But they're truly in their thoughts. We need these people in the world to create structure around us. And they're black and white with rules. If it's a rule, it's a rule, and they'll keep the rule. Then we have the leaders. The leaders, you can feel them coming into the room, and many times we're drawn to them as leaders. We want to follow them because they're go-getters, they're competitive, they're problem solvers, super sharp, they're bold, they're decision makers. They'll make a decision. If you need a decision made, they'll, "You know what, let me make that decision for you." They fix things, they're assertive, they challenge you, they want competence around them, they're very goal oriented. They Risk taking is so much fun for them, but also they're threatened by failure. They don't want to fail, but you can see they want to take the reins and they want to go for it. Then we have the peacemakers. The peacemakers are they're just that. They're warm, they're sensitive, they're loving, they're loyal. They want one-on-one time. They're more introverted in their socialness. They're relationship focused and task focused second. But in that relationship focus, they just want one, two, three, four, kind of a small group, whereas talkers would want a full room. The more the better. They're like, "Hey, invite more." That's the talker. The peacemaker on the social side is more of a personal type of person. They're very flexible. They're the yes people. They don't want to rock the boat. Very kind, team players, very compassionate. They just want everybody to get along. Now, the task focused temperaments are leaders and thinkers. So if you're thinking about where you're at, think about it. My task focus, more task focus, like I want to get the task done first, and then I have room for relationship, then you're probably a thinker or a leader. And if you're more of a relationship first and we can get to the task later, probably a peacemaker or talker. And leaders are much more vocal about their thoughts and more extroverted in their thoughts. Extroverted meaning that they also kind of think out loud and share their thoughts. Thinkers are more private about what they're thinking about and what they're feeling, more reserved on that. They're more on the introverted side as well. So again, in the chat, put which one you think you are. Now, let me tell you, talkers and thinkers usually marry one another. And initially, that's super attractive. A talker thinks, man, that thought bubble, super attractive. They're going to listen to me. I have a lot of words. They have a lot of thought bubbles. I can fill them in. And the thinker's going, man, I don't have to come up with a conversation. And the talker's filling all that in. And initially, that is so attractive. And they love kind of complimenting each other, where the thinker's organized, the talker's more disorganized. And so they're kind of helping each other out, and they feel fulfilled in that initially. But once you get married, that drives they drive each other crazy, and that's where that now the dynamic kicks in, where you have to adjust you to learn who the other person is, and to know what are the things that in me, what are my emotional needs, what are my emotional triggers, and then what are the things that I do that probably drive my spouse nuts or my kids nuts. And now, how do I need to adjust me and grow in who I am by learning about this other temperament, taking on some of those characteristics and growing that piece of who I am in a big way, so that we have a better relationship. And so if two people are humble enough to do that, you begin to create a very loving, growing, expanding type of relationship, and also an expansion of who you are as a person, and a more mature growing in you as a person. leaders Leaders and peacemakers usually get together, and you can, as far as marriage, and you can imagine why. Leader wants to lead, a peacemaker wants to follow. Leaders want to make the decisions, peacemakers don't want to make decisions. So they're like, oh man, you make the decisions, that's great, I just absolutely love it. And then the leaders go, man, you're listening to me, you love my ideas, you're just saying yes to everything, I just love it. And so initially, that is just so exciting and very attractive between the two. And then they drive each other crazy. The peacemaker goes, can I have any type of opinion? Will you listen to me, please? Can I have some say in some of this? And then the leader maybe saying, hey, I thought you didn't want to have any voice, and why all of a sudden are you wanting to have voice? And the leader may not be used to having someone else have some say in there. And the peacemaker may say, hey, can we slow down the pace a bit, because peacemakers like a little slower pace, leaders love a fast pace. And so those things begin to create some tension. Now, realize, for you as an individual, you have a healthy side to you and a side that is unhealthy. I know that's a big thing to say. All of us have an unhealthy side to us, and certain moments pull it out of us. Some people spill out more frequently on the unhealthy side, and some people come in more on the healthy side. And you begin to learn which pieces of those are. And well, you can ask a close friend or a spouse or someone like that. Just say, hey, what are the healthy sides of me that you see, and what are some things that you would consider kind of unhealthy? And if you're in a good relationship that way, and it's not, and there's trust there, that is such great feedback to get back, because an unhealthy side many times is a blind spot, and it can come out within our temperament. So I'm going to talk about the pieces that you want to look at in your temperament that may be unhealthy. So I'm going to talk about the unhealthy sides of each of the temperaments. So on this resource that I'm showing right now, this is our age and stage resources, and you can sign up for it. It's absolutely free. What happens there is you put the name of each of your kids, just the first name, and then the birth month and year of their birth month and year. And then you'll receive on a weekly basis content specific to the stage that they're in developmentally for you as a parent. And then you also receive immediately content specific to their age that they're in. So if you have 3 kids, you get 3 different, it's one email, but with 3 different ages being sent to you. And it's what to expect, what to build, and how to grow. 10 pages of highly illustrated content, research based, and very helpful for you. And that's all. And then it ages with your kids. So around their birthday, you'll get the next age, and so on. It'll keep going. So hope you enjoy that. And there's a lot of Q&A questions that parents have asked over the years. You can go to the website and get answers to that are specific to the stage that you're in as a parent as well. So check those out. All right, so talkers, here are the challenges that you need to be aware of. These are the potential blind spots. It's being organized, staying organized, being on time, talking too much, not listening while you are talking to people. Maybe it's all about your stories, and it's, many times for talkers, they they just come in assuming that they need to be the most entertaining. And so being able to listen is a little tougher. Managing boredom, talkers get bored pretty quickly. Paying attention to details, keeping track of details, being organized, all that. Those are tough things for talkers. Not interrupting others. Kids many times have that tendency to interrupt. And so talkers, if you have a talker child, just know that they're wanting affirmation. They're wanting connection. And so you want to help shape that talker personality and say, hey, you know what? I love that you want to share your thoughts. Let's figure out the right timing. And you can use stop signs many times to just help them think as they are bringing in thoughts, or maybe potentially interrupting someone. You can give them some visual signals. Talkers do very well with visual reminders of what they're working on. And so if you have a kind of impulsive talker child that interrupts people, here's an example. You can maybe put up a stop sign somewhere as a reminder of that. And just when they interrupt, just go, hey, I think you just ran into my car. I think I'm going to need some like insurance information, your talker license, and maybe, we were in the intersection. When you come in, give me a signal that you're in the intersection. We'll finish up and we'll clear it out so that you can come through the intersection. We can talk. That way they can visually see there are already people talking, and I need to stop for a moment, let the person know that I'm waiting. And now they're working on patience, which is a hard thing for talkers. So working on patience, and then after that, they get to show that lovingness to the person by waiting their turn, and then asking the question. And as they do it well, give them a lot of feedback. Man, I saw the patience. Good job waiting. That's fantastic. Love that. Talkers when they get positive feedback, they are more likely to repeat that behavior. They love that positive affirmation that they're on the right track. And the younger the child, the better on that. And so you're shaping and molding that. Part of the celebration of it could be that as they're having goals, they have a kind of a celebration for them would be having more social time together as a family, whether it's enjoying a meal together or board games, something that's social they would love to have as a celebration. And I'll talk more about celebrations here in a moment. All right, so for talkers, they're they're motivated by curiosity and fun and recognition, like I was talking about. They also love challenge. They love a variety of challenges, and they love to do it as an experience, as a group, not just individually. All right. For thinkers know that you tend to be a little bit more self-critical and critical of others and your thoughts. You tend to be black and white, but also pretty judgmental about other people. Watch that, because you are hard on yourself, so then you're hard on other people. You tend to be more on the jealous side, picky about things, obsessive over details. You're in that. You obsess over the thoughts of bringing the right one out, and so many times you don't say something, or you say something later, or the conversation has moved on because you want to kind of say it perfectly. Sometimes you can come across very bluntly and be misinterpreted as mean, but you're trying to bring kind of reality to the situation. It's harder for you to have fun and to laugh at things, and you tend to be a little bit more inflexible with rules and a variety of things. It's just the inflexibility is there. You have a certain pattern and certain way of doing things, and so you demand other people do it that way. Again, this is kind of the unhealthy side you want to be aware of, and you tend to be more cautious, more fearful about taking risks. Um, Thinkers are motivated by organization. If you have a thinker child, have them organize, things around your house. They love that. That's actually energizing for a thinker child. And then have celebrations with them. And part of the celebration could be maybe having some personal time or even some alone time. They love to have that. It's actually a bit of a I mean, it's yeah, it's a bit of a reward for them to have some alone time where they're given space to just be in their thoughts, or just one-on-one personal time. They tend to be very loyal and do enjoy that personal time. They also love challenges, mental challenges more specifically. They love clarity and structure. So if you tend to be a talker parent and you're the one in charge and you're kind of wishy-washy on the rules and you're saying, well, this rule and that rule, and then you kind of change them, that drives thinkers crazy, and they begin to either rebel against it or become very upset and frustrated with the fact that rules keep changing and there isn't clarity around that. And in the emotional need space for them, being sensitive to their thoughts. If you ask a thinker, hey, did you really think that through? That's kind of offensive to them because they are constantly in their thoughts, and they need space to just think through their thoughts and process things carefully. All right, so leaders, you have a hard time being patient, and many times you run over people. You're so competitive that you're trying to be number one all the time. There's a lot at stake there, and it's on the unhealthy side again. It's hard to delegate. If somebody's disagreeing with a leader, it can feel very unsafe, and leaders have a hard time having compassion towards others. They want competence, and if you're doing something, you better do it with excellence. There's a demand there, kind of a tension that is brought by leaders, and sometimes I would say that the main thing that I've seen in families with leaders is that they can run over people, and it can be intimidating to bring anything up to a leader because they may run over you, and they may get louder, and they come in strong and inflexible, and so then it creates a compliance out of fear and a disconnection and a lack of trust, and that breaks down on a leader if they're coming in with that posture of a temperament. And many times it's hard for a leader to listen to other people's opinions and thoughts because they think, hey, I've got this under control, don't worry about it. And they're driven by control. And so if another person gives opinion, they're giving up a piece of control. Super hard for a leader to do. So they're motivated by having control, competition. They love to see progress of things. And they also love unique challenges. And the challenge here is more of a risk challenge, a challenge that is going to stretch them beyond what they thought was capable, physically, mentally, emotionally, all of that. They love those stretch goals. That's what leaders often love. And emotional need is an opportunity to lead. Give them opportunities, even from a young age. A leader child, giving them opportunities to lead is absolutely fantastic. But they also desire, their emotional needs, that they want to see that there's an order, there's a structure to the home, that people are willing to enter into a place of healthy conflict to shape things. They admire that and respect that, even if they push back. And they love to be praised when they're doing things right or leading well. So know that. I remember a story of these two parents. They're peacemaker parents, and they had a leader son. He was a big guy, football player, captain of football and baseball, the baseball team, but really physically intimidating and large. And he came in. The parents had said, "Hey, he has an anger issue. We'd love help with this." And as I got to know this young man, I said, "Hey, tell me more about what you think is below that emotion." Anger is kind of a secondary thing. It's a way of managing other complex emotions that are rattling up in there. And the way it's coming out behavior is you're wanting to overpower, but there's this edge to you. What is happening? And he said, I was thinking about it, and I just wish my parents would lead me. They would they would parent me. They just seem afraid of me. And I said, well, I mean, you do come in with kind of an intimidating presence as a leader. You got to be aware of that. And if you're truly wanting to draw that out of your parents, let's understand they're both peacemakers. They just want peace. They want everybody to be calm and everybody to be happy. So you have to begin to learn who they are, and they need to learn who you are. And now the adjustment began. It was beautiful to see the parents become more bold, more confident, more assertive, and the son become more understanding, more compassionate, and more loving to allow himself to be led learning that he's interpreted a certain way, and it made him more self-aware of how he came across in this intensity of who he was. All right, so now let's look at the peacemaker personality. The peacemakers on the challenging side for you. You tend to sometimes be dishonest just to make everybody else happy. You tend to suppress your desires and your frustrations for a period of time, and then you explode because you think, man, I tolerated so much and I showed love that way, but you've actually just tolerated it in such a way that you've built resentment, and then you explode. And so it's also hard for you to have a fast pace, handle pain, adversity. It's hard for you not to procrastinate. So meeting deadlines or making decisions, those can be blind spots, and it can drive other people crazy. Um, just being assertive and being sincere with people can be hard for peacemakers. And just know, peacemakers, if you're expecting a peacemaker to be entertaining, they're not. But they're going to be personal. They're going to listen to you. They're going to be a very loving individual. They're the most likely ones to write a note and say, "Hey, thank you," or "I love being with you." Um, but for peacemakers in a group setting, it's super hard for them to share ideas. They don't want to stand out in any way or rock the boat. And I think the big one here for families is understanding that peacemakers need a slower pace. And I think I have time for this real quick. There was a boy that came to my practice a while back that had said that, man, I am just, he was in a home that was 2 leader parents, 3 leader brothers, and he was the only peacemaker, and he was the youngest. And these guys were bold and in charge. They were going after it all. I mean, the two very successful business people, the parents were, the brothers, successful athletes, super good, always busy, always on the go. And this boy, he was 14-ish, 15-ish. He was at kind of almost a suicidal place. I mean, suicidal ideation. He just said, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't keep up. I don't measure up to all this stuff. And he was just so overwhelmed. And so as the parents and the family learned about him and his personality and how different he was, and they learned to slow down and kind of create a healthy balance, it helped their marriage. It helped the overall family from this one child's difference. It changed the whole entire family system. And as they adjusted, he felt loved, and they learned to have some family time and slow down enough to have meals together, to have some family time together. And that boy, man, the anxiety, all kinds of things cleared up for him because then he felt like, oh, I can do this. He could breathe. And so for peacemakers, you need to understand they need kind of a slower pace. So I get here emotional needs, sleep, downtime, peacefulness, just some quality time with people. Know that they are motivated by a family system that has cooperation and that spends time having quality time as a family. It creates a sense of security and connectedness that's so needed for peacemakers. So as we kind of wrap up, the parenting assessment, this one was built by our research team here at Focus on the Family, and it provides insights for you, 7 pages for each child. So as we were talking about temperament differences, I want you to be thinking about, what is my relationship like with each child? What do they pull out of me? What are the triggers? What are the things that happen with each child? Because we can show up differently for each of the children we have. There have been some homeschool families that have like 12 kids, so they have to take this 12 times. But you get about 7 pages of content for each of those relationships, and it tells you, here are your strengths, here are your top 2 traits, and here are your 2 opportunities for growth. And I tell you guys that out of the several thousand assessments that have been completed here, Focus on the Family, the top one that parents score on is steadfast love. Parents love their kids and want to give their life for their kids. That is beautiful. I love that. Number 2 is respect, that they have a respect for the relationship, a respect where they bring in respect. They feel that they show up that way with their children. Now the bottom 2 are fascinating to me. The bottom one is adaptability, being able to adapt to the differences, being able to tell what is going on in each child, and being able to adjust to the multiple different ways the kids are showing up to a moment. Siblings are arguing, and there's adapting to the different temperaments and who they are. So adaptability is tough. And then number 2 is intentionality, being intentional about things. Many parents, I think 7 out of 10, Actually, the most recent one stat was that 92% of working parents are at the point of burnout. And so it makes it hard to just add more things. So as you're thinking about the tool set that we just talked about here, it's about you being mentally and emotionally present in the moment and becoming curious. What is going on in my child? How is he interpreting this or she interpreting this moment? And what is it like to be with me? What is that like for them? Just realize if you're one of the strong personalities, and I would consider the thinker and the leader as a strong personality because they want to have control. They tend to be more on the control side, and that's where they find a sense of accomplishment, safety. Um, how would I say, sense of satisfaction in the relationship. They feel better when they're in control. Strong personalities can tend to pull others into their way of doing things. And if you do that, think about what that would be like for the other person that is constantly they're being pulled into the way that you like to do things because you like to be in control. That can over time create resentment in a relationship. So in the in between, I'm going to give you guys, if you're a talker, here are a couple homework thoughts for you. Be sure to look at listening at first, showing up and trying to listen. Don't overcommit to things. Find ways to be organized and find ways to, as you ask questions, instead of talking about yourself, using your skill set to draw out by asking questions, being a super communicator, by asking questions out of curiosity of other people, and you bring life into a room. Talkers are, it's fantastic. Be sure you're accurate and honest. You're not overcommitting to certain things and saying, "Hey, yeah, we can do that," and then you lose credibility. Leaders, let others have an opinion. Let others be right. Stop and affirm other people. Your words can be so life-giving. If you stop as a leader, there's a lot of respect and sometimes fear towards you. If you say, "Man, I admire what you just did," and you give up some of that praise to someone else, what a gift that is. And within your home, you'll see the momentum you create that way. Incredible. And if you're intense in something, stop and smile and give affirmation to those around you. That leader part of you can create an incredible momentum in your home. Let go of some control. I mean, let go of some things. That'd be amazing for you. Thinkers, make sure you lighten up, learn to be optimistic, relax. Um, in on the black and white side, know that sometimes that can become, that inflexibility can become frustrating to somebody trying to commit um, to a resolution of things. As you are doing the day to day, lean into your playful side. Take some risks on being a little bit more playful. That will create a tremendous, beautiful, actually, momentum in your home as people see you more as a serious one, and you bring that playful side to you. It'll create a fun result. And then peacemakers, make sure you're deciding, make decisions, challenge yourself, bring an opinion, even if it's going to create a bit of conflict. Step towards healthy conflict because that's actually even more loving, much more loving than just ignoring the issue and letting it go. Uh, Challenge yourself by going towards that healthy conflict with others. Here in the in between, there are things that you can be thinking about, that you can be doing to adjust to each of the different temperaments. And hopefully this gives you an initial thought of how you can be adjusting you to create that connectedness and maybe an understanding with your kids for that. And this has it a little bit more zoomed out for you. So I want you to think about, how have the different temperaments in your home shaped what your home is today? What you can step towards in this is gratitude for all the differences in your home, and now figuring out of that mindset of gratitude, how do we shape this? Man, this is unique to our home. How can we use this to our advantage and begin to build a home that's, or continue to build a home that's memorable? Um, think about what a key takeaway is for you regarding your family. And if you want to share that in the chat, that'd be awesome. What is one takeaway that you're taking from this? And then what is one thing you learned about what you are committed to addressing? What are you going to change in you to love your family even more today? What's one thing, one shift you're gonna make? Just know we're on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all three of those, and would love to have you as part of that community. There's, comments and conversation there. These sub channels are fairly new within Focus on the Family, so it's kind of a new growing community. And you can also join our our larger flagship one that has a kind of a massive audience. But these are kind of smaller and can are still being shaped, and it'd be fantastic to have you a part of those. And this, as was mentioned at the beginning, we do have a podcast, Practice Makes Parent. That's with Rebecca St. James, and we bring all kinds of guests and a variety of topics to that. And then know that we are. Let's see here. All right. Know that that's a lot of windows there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Yeah, know that we also have many other resources here focused on the family, Q&As and all kinds of other resources, free downloads, and a lot of it is free. Um, and as I said, in 2 weeks from today, I'll be talking about the 7 traits. I'll bring the book and I'll talk about all the research behind that, and would love to meet you guys in person. All right. So any questions? What do you think, Raquel?
We do have a few questions for you.
Okay, sweet.
One that came up a lot was people asking for these PDFs. How can they get those, like the PDFs that you showed of the different the thinker?
Super expensive. Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah,
super hard. No, what I can do is just I'll send them through you
sure.
to everyone here. Let's
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you that would be great.
Yeah.
We will send them out to
Perfect.
you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, questions about one question related to the mom is a peacemaker, son is a leader. So a
Yeah.
little bit of clash here. And how do we make sure son remembers that mom is in charge?
Yeah. But you get to learn a lot, Mom, as a peacemaker. How this is going to be a beautiful growth piece for you, where you become more assertive, more bold, because that's the language that your leader son talks in. I know you're going to want to just bring that soft side, and hey, you should listen to me. You're gonna need to bring more of that assertive side and practice it. And you may get some pushback, but that gives you the opportunity to begin to speak that language with your son. And it doesn't mean you have to be afraid of it. If your son is more of a leader, just know that he is. This is the way that he asserts his opinion, his thoughts. He's much more external in that. And for you, you're going to have to work on not taking it personally. It's not a personal thing, it's a communication thing. This is the way he communicates. And so as you step into it, maybe you have a support group, some other friends and people that can kind of encourage you and go, man, practice this up. You're going to be all right. Make sure you're not taking things personally from your son. And as you assert it and you're consistent, your leader son will respect it and will begin to respect more and more that authority that you've asserted, even in that personality. But I would encourage you also to take the resources, the PDFs that you're going to get. And I'm actually Navigating Personalities book is going to come out next spring, and it has tons of tools in there. But in the meantime, take the PDF, talk with your son about it, and then have him, if he's a teen, it's a great a tool for him to be self-reflective on what is it like to be with him, and then how do you guys figure out the in between, that you want to guide him well out of love, and how can you guys have healthy conflict and continue to shape it from there.
Okay, and then two questions I'm going to kind of combine here.
Okay.
One is maybe the relationship between this and the love languages. They seem kind of linked together.
Okay.
If you want to maybe discuss that. And then how does trauma change or affect these four personality types?
Okay, man, great questions. Okay. On the love language, it's a little different. On the preference, the quality time, I can see how that would be um, something that would kind of I guess mix into this. Uh, it really depends on a variety of things when we think about love languages. Like one of them that's top for people is touch. Touch is a big one. Physical touch, affirmations, and quality time are kind of usually the top ones. Then you have gifts and then acts of service. Acts of service usually is the bottom one for people. They go, hey, it's great. I love it. There are some people that love it at the top if they haven't had it, throughout their life. But usually, physical touch is the one that is most likely to say physical touch is not in their top would be a thinker. Thinkers are more sensory aversive. They're in their thoughts. They're like, hey, we don't need to hug or any of that stuff. The talkers love to hug the whole entire world. They're so social. They want to hug everybody, and they love physical touch. And so that's more likely going to be their top one. The quality timers are usually the thinkers and the peacemakers. And the leaders would be more likely to be on the physical touch, but they'd be more likely to go towards acts of service and gifts. They love to receive that, but they also love to give that many times. But probably the top one for leaders would be words of affirmation. They love to have all those words and, hey, man, you're doing fantastic. And that's very loving to them. So that's how those mix in a general way. And then when you think about trauma, trauma takes you into an adaptive place, and it suppresses that more natural temperament of who you are, because trauma does that to you, right? You go to survival mode, and so you go more towards the one that you think people are going to like, or it's going to be most protective for you. And so if there's been trauma, you can begin to think about, how does this part of my temperament, this temperament I've taken on, protect me and give me more sense of confidence. And then you have to kind of go backwards a bit and reparent and ask the question, what would really be my temperament without that? With beyond that self protection, who am I in my most relaxed, safe state? And you begin to learn more about who you are, and that can be so healing on the brain and on you as a person, knowing that you have an adaptive side, and that's not bad. That's out of the self-protect side. Your brain's constantly trying to figure out how to protect you. And then the other one is, who am I? You're going in discovery of who am I really underneath it all. And so go into curiosity with that, not shame. And you'll discover more about you as a person. So yeah, trauma does take you into more of an adaptive temperament.